All right, welcome on back, everyone, to another episode of First CSP, the channel dedicated to bringing you the first council shoulder patch issued from each council in Scouting America, both past and present. Today, we're going to take a look at Gulf Ridge 86 out of Florida. This council was originally formed in 1939 as a name change from the Tampa Bay Area 86 and lasted up until 2016 when it merged with West Central Florida to form Greater Tampa Bay Area 89. Now, if we look at the most recent collecting guides, they will just list the first issue as T1 and then subsequent issues as the S2. In previous collecting guides, the first issue was originally broken into two variants, the T1A and T1B, but I do think we have some production runs within those variants of T1A and T1B. We have those here to talk with today. The original descriptions for T1A and T1B are a little challenging to decipher when looking at the patches in person. So I'm going to show you what we have. Certainly you can chime in the comments if you have additional information or just your opinions on what we've got. But let's head over to the patch table. So we believe this to be the T1A. The T1A is listed as having a dark yellow border, light blue background, red letters, orange sun, and no state name. If we take a look at the back here, it is a gauze cloth back on the T1A. Now the main distinction in the older collecting guides between the T1A and the T1B is that the lettering on the T1B is thicker. Now, when using that as the primary guide, there is a difference in border color. They list the T1A as dark yellow and the T1B as light gold, but that does not seem at all to be helpful in trying to differentiate between these two because the colors end up being so similar. So some of the things that I noticed on this patch that we'll see as difference from some of the other issues is particularly going to be in the thickness of the palm tree stitching and the black outlining here in the interior of the land for this patch. Now, in comparison between what I believe to be the T1B, this lettering appears to be thinner. However, we have two patches that appear to have thinner lettering, so both of these would be consistent with the description for the T1A. Notice these letterings to me appear very, very similar. Let's see if I can get it out from behind me. Appear to be very similar in their thickness. We will show the difference from what I believe to be a T1B in a moment. However, we get a striking difference, at least denoting a different production run, in the thickness of these palm trees, and then the stitching on the interior of the land does not stop here, but does come all the way over to the left, thinning out. Now, that could be a thread run on this patch or not. That is unclear whether or not this just ran out of black thread, but you can certainly see a difference in the thickness of these palm trees. All the subsequent patches that we have, the T1B and the S2, match not only the design on the land here, but also have thinner palm trees. This is the only one that sticks out as being a design that had thicker palm trees, but the lettering seems to be about the same size, which would make both of these T1As. Both of them have gauze cloth back, so it looks like two production runs. Which run came first would be questionable. However, because every subsequent patch has the thinner palm tree style, I would then hazard a guess that this thicker palm tree ended up being the first production run of T1A. Again, feel free to chime in on the comments. I'm kind of giving you my thought process as I take a look at these and try and consider what is what. All right, so I'm going to take off that first one. I'm going to move up the other T1A, which I think was potentially the second production run. And then we're going to look at what I believe to be a T1B. Now here, again, we can see the black thread on the interior of the land is following the same pattern. It is a bit thicker, but you'll see these palm trees still very thin. Not exact because it's not the same production run, but when we look at the lettering, these letterings look like the same as the first T1A I showed you. These appear to be noticeably thicker by comparison. And so by comparison, that would make this one a T1B. So I think I have two production runs here that we've shown you of T1A, and then we have one T1B. This T1B happens to have a plastic back. We know within this time frame of when they were produced, they could have plastic backs or not, and one having a plastic back or a gauze cloth back does not necessarily show that one is earlier or later than another, because both were being produced within the time frame of these CSPs. So that is, I believe, two variations of T1A to the best of my ability, and one T1B showing the thicker lettering. And then we have the other twill they produced. This is not the S2. The S2 would have had the state name, but obviously would have been a fully sewn patch. So it's not going to be confused with the twills that are the T1s. The next twill they produced is the T5. Again, same thin palm trees. Of course, now we've added the state name. We've added the fleur-de-lis. This certainly would not be confused with the T1s, but it is the other twill patch they produced, so we thought it's worth showcasing here as well. And this is the T5. The other patches in between was the S2, S3, and S4. The S2 had an A, B, and the S4 had an A and B. Again, those are solidly embroidered patches. Those would not be confused for the first issue. This is the other twill, and this is the T5. So everything, moving this down a little bit, everything after this patch seems to have much thinner palm trees. So this, I believe, was the first T1A. And then they produced this second run of T1A, which now has a thinner palm tree. Unclear whether or not this is a thread run or if all of these were produced without that additional black threading on the interior of the island. All the rest of the issues, the T1B, the T5, all show the land with this additional black thread for detail within the land portion. You'll notice the twills here are pretty similar. Again, that would also speak to the fact that these are possibly two production runs of the T1A. And then I'm going to leave that first one up and now put it against the T1B. We see now we've moved to an opposite direction twill. And again, here making the comparison, these are what I would consider the thinner letters. These are what I would consider the thicker letters, making this a T1B. Again, comparing the palm trees, much thicker palm trees here. And just like the second run, as I'm calling it, of the T1A, we see much thinner palm trees. And everything subsequent was much thinner palm trees, which to me kind of points towards this being the first production run of the T1A that existed. So that is the Gulf Ridge Council and kind of a rundown of the first issues, potentially some of the first production runs together. That's my thinking on how these were produced in what order. If you are from this council, have collected it, or have more information about these, or have differing opinions on what is what within these issues, I'd love to hear that in the comments. Please let us know. We always want to just provide the most factually accurate information that we can with regard to the issues that we're showcasing, and where we have holes in our knowledge base that our audience can fill, which happens frequently, especially about histories of councils. By all means, drop it in the comments. We want everybody to just have the best information possible regarding these CSPs. We are back every single day with brand new episodes. We'll be back again tomorrow with another brand new episode. We hope to see you then. We want to thank everyone that continues to come back and share in the content here. We love to hear from you in the comments. We really appreciate you giving it a like, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with your friends so more people can see these amazing pieces of art and history of Scouting America. It's something that we're really proud of and really enjoy sharing with you. So we'll be back again tomorrow. Until then, again, thank you for stopping in, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.